Welcome everyone to DevOps Basic with Dolly. In this tutorial series, we'll learn Docker step by step. We'll understand what containers are, how Docker works, and how to build applications using containers. By the end of this series, you'll be able to create, run, and manage your own Docker containers. Let's get started. First, let's create a new project folder. This folder will contain all the files for our Docker project. Now, let's enter the directory and start building our application environment. Now let's open the project in Visual Studio Code. We go to File, then Open Project, and select the folder we just created. Now let's initialize our Node.js project using npm. This command creates a packaged JSON file, which stores the project configuration and dependencies. It is one of the most important files in any Node.js application. Now let's install Express. Express is a lightweight framework for Node.js that helps us create web applications and APIs more easily. This package will be the foundation of our application. Now we can see the files created by npm. The package JSON file contains the project configuration and dependency information. We also have the Node modules directory where all installed packages are stored. Now let's create our application file. We'll create a simple Express server that listens on port 3000 and returns a basic response. This will be the application we containerize with Docker. I already have the application code prepared, so I'm going to copy and paste it to save some time. The important part is understanding the structure and how the application works before we containerize it with Docker. Now let's create our first Dockerfile. A Dockerfile contains the instructions Docker uses to build a container image. Here we define the base image, copy the application files, install dependencies, and configure how the application starts. First, we use from node:18. Here in the from instruction, Docker needs a base image to build the container. Docker will automatically download this image from Docker Hub, which is the official public registry for Docker images. If we open Docker Hub, we can search for Node and see the official Node.js images available. This is where Docker pulls the base image from when building the container. Next, we have workdir/app. This instruction creates a working directory inside the container. You can think of it as the main folder where our application will live. If the directory does not already exist, Docker creates it automatically. Now we use copy.space. This instruction copies files from our local project into the container. The first dot represents the current folder on our local machine. The second dot represents the current working directory inside the container, which in our case is /app. So this command basically means copy everything from this local project folder into the application folder inside the container. Next, we run npm install. At this point, Docker already copied our project files into the container. Now npm install reads the package.json file and downloads all the application dependencies. This step is very important because our application needs those packages in order to run correctly inside the container. Finally, we have the cmd instruction. This defines the command that will run automatically when the container starts. In our case, Docker will execute node-app.js. That command starts our Node.js application inside the container. So every time we run this image, the application will start automatically. Now let's build the Docker image. Docker will read the Docker file step by step and create a container image based on those instructions. The dot at the end of the command represents the current directory, which is where Docker will look for the Docker file. And with the -t flag, we assign a custom name to the image so it is easier to reference later. Now that the image is ready, we can run the container. The -p flag maps ports between our local machine and the container. On the left side, we have port 3000 on our computer. On the right side, we have port 3000 inside the container where the node.js application is running. And finally, we specify the image name we want Docker to execute. Now let's open the browser and verify that the container is running correctly. If everything worked properly, we should see the application response coming directly from the Docker container. At this point, our application is no longer running on the local machine. It is running inside the container. We can also open Docker Desktop to see the running container. Here we can see the container name, the image being used, and the port mapping. The green indicator shows that the container is currently running successfully. Docker Desktop gives us an easy way to monitor and manage containers visually. And that's it for this tutorial. We created a simple Node.js application, built our first Docker image, and successfully ran a container. You also learned how Docker uses a Dockerfile to package applications into portable environments. This is one of the core foundations of modern DevOps. In the next video, we'll continue exploring Docker and container workflows step by step. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.